What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Connectors Corner, where we build everything on Kingdom principle. I am your host and master connector, Drew Dockery. I'm a business coach, and what I do is I help sales professionals and entrepreneurs not leave money on the table by doing three simple things. Number one is monetizing your relationships. Number two, growing your network. And number three, making proper connections. I'm also the author of the Connectors Handbook, which is the blueprint to networking. If you want to grow your business, you want to grow your influence, if you want to I would say grow, period. If you're in the business world or any type of leadership position, you want to get the Connectors Handbook. It's going to help you move and groove while you're in those rooms of greatness. I know it's been a while, so getting back to it, we're going to be doing these kind of regular. Have some major changes that have happened to the Connectors Corner. We've added some new segments. We're going to be adding more segments. So make sure you stay tuned to what we have going on and what we're doing. Today, our topic of conversation is something I've been watching a lot of people do for a long time. And even some, I would say, whether they're business clients or even business professionals I'm connected to, I've seen a lot of folks just blow the deal. So the title of today's message is Don't Blow the Deal. Don't blow the deal. I had to make some notes for this because I want to make sure I don't, miss anything. But we'll start off with this. To not blow the deal, the biggest key that you want to remember is patience is the multiplier. It pays to be patient. It's not a good look to go into any room and be thirsty. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about two different situations that I was familiar with lately. I would say in the last few weeks, and even the other situation happened a few months ago. I won't give no names on that one, but I will talk about the experience. So the first situation was with a real estate agent. This wasn't me personally. And she wasn't a client of mine either. It was just something I had heard through a friend of mine who's working on a house. They're rehabbing a house for a very high level professional here. He's actually a professional athlete. He played for the Buffalo Bills. And he was looking to sell his house. He's looking to sell his house. He's got like maybe an $800,000 to $1 million home he has here in Western New York. And you would think because of who this person was, it should be an easy sale, right? Shouldn't be any issues trying to sell that property because of who it was and the value of the property that he had. So he grabs one agent and he tells her he wants to work with her. And she basically takes his property. He was telling her, hey, I want to sell it. We want to come to you and sell it, and we're going to lock you in. So they hired her as their agent. As they hired her as their agent, what he does is tell her it needs some updates because I want to get the most out of the property value that I can. So let's raise the value a little bit. We'll paint. We'll do a few things to make it more modern, or make the house a little better so it sells good on the market. She says okay. And then in turn goes and lists the house. She lists the house, right? After she lists the house, she puts in the description as is. So not even talking about the different updates that they're going to make to the property. She just goes right in and lists it as is. Now, the problem with that is this. I invest in real estate in my spare time. I've been an investor for over a decade now. You never list a property as is unless it's something that's like a mechanic special or something bad. Somebody, it's a rundown house, it's a trashed house, and you list it as is because you're trying to get it out. But at the same time, when you're listing a high level professional's property, you never list it as is. So just hearing that story, it made me cringe. Well, they ended up firing that agent, rehiring another agent who was patient enough to go ahead and let them do the updates and then list the property, and then they listed the good points of the property. As is, sounds like somebody's buying a basket case. So you're already like basically pushing good people who will want to buy that property away. You're going to attract all the people who are investors who think they can put more money into it and get way more money out. That property is not that, because it's not tip top shape, but it was something that was it was very good. It was good, not very good. I'll say it was good. But she basically blew the deal. And you'd be surprised how many times that happens with most professionals. So they ended up hiring somebody else. She misses out on the commissions. And now what could have been a $40,000, $50,000 commission for her, she blows it. So that's blowing the deal. Um, if she was my client, what I would have told her was to wait, because if they just painted or did some of the updates, they would have increased the property about $100,000 or $200,000 in value, just so it can be sold on the market, and you don't have to market it as is, because somebody's going to want to buy it. So how does that help her? Well, if you take an $800,000 house, move it to $1 million in value, somebody comes in, they purchase it because of whose house it was. They purchase the house, and now the house sells for $1 million instead of 800,000. So roughly, let's say if it's anywhere from 3 to 5% commission for a real estate agent, uh, yeah, you're probably making about $50,000 to $30,000 off of that deal, or it could be more, depending on how they do it. And who knows, maybe they'll give you an extra fee for, on top of what your commissions are from the company, but maybe you can work in some other money from the deal. My point is, real estate is so creative. You can do stuff a certain kind of way and still maximize your results. And she blew the deal from Jump Street for being very thirsty. To me, it sounded like she's a starving real estate agent. Um, she needs a property or a deal done at some point because of who it is. That gives her some buying power. So what she did was she listed it against his will. You're already breaking all of the rules of sales because you're being impatient and you're moving in a way that's making you desperate. Desperation is the curse of any sales transaction. You never want to move in desperation at all. And that's how she ended up blowing the deal, not allowing herself to not even make any money on the deal. And if she had been patient, she'd have been able to maximize what she was going to make on the deal. So she blew it, right? That's the first situation. Second situation was a gentleman that I am connected to. I won't use his name, and I'll try to keep companies' names out of it just for the sake of the story. But what happened was, if you follow my channel at all as a business coach, you'll notice that what I talk about is being ushered into a room, creating warm contacts when you're in sales, when you're a business person. The warmer the contact, the easier the business sale. And you shouldn't have a hard time when somebody who's reputable recommends you to someone, they usher you into a room, and they do it properly. So you're making proper connections, right? So this particular gentleman, I sit on the board of a company here in Western New York. And I told this gentleman, the company I was on the board for were looking for his specific services. So if he didn't have what they needed specifically, and I'm just saying if by the time I put them together, he couldn't come through or fulfill what they needed, in my mind, he could be a solution to them at some point, one way or another, right? So what I did was I booked a meeting with the CEO, myself, and this gentleman. And I told him, I'll make the connection. I'll usher you into the room. This is not a sales opportunity, though. And I told him that right up front. This is not a sales opportunity. This is a point for you to go meet and greet the CEO, hear their problems, give them a possible solution, and then you guys connect, you exchange information, then you come back and do a hard sell, or to really run down everything that needs to be ran down to make that business transaction work. He says, okay, so he knows going in, this is what it is. I told him from Jump Street, make sure you're dressed appropriately. Wear something nice. Put a suit on. No tie, but a suit or something decent. Because I knew what I was going to do is I'm the business coach on the board. So I'm coming in a suit, no tie. And that's formal. That's pretty decent. I'm expecting you to show up as well, or at least a little better than me, because I am selling you to the CEO of this company who also needs your services. Remember that. They need your service. Okay. He says, okay, cool. That sounds like a good plan, Drew. Thank you. I appreciate that. And let's go do it. So we set the date. We get there. I'm sitting in the parking lot waiting for him to let me know when he's there. I get there. I'm sitting there. I text him, hey, it's a few minutes after. Where are you? Oh, I'm already in the room. Me and the CEO are already in here. He already broke rule number one. So now we get there. I go inside. He is halfway or just about starting a presentation to the CEO. And she is politely taking notes. So I come in, I give the CEO a hug. Hey, how you doing? I know that's not, business formal. Normally is shaking hands. I do the intimate stuff business wise because depending on who you're connected to, it's going to make for a stronger connection. That ability of touch, if you shake somebody's hand a certain kind of way, if you address them a certain kind of way, it creates an easier flowing environment. So depending on who you are or what environment you are in, you may want to address that or adjust that. Golden rule for me is my mom she was a big stickler with this, but my mom is deceased. She's been deceased for almost 20 years now. But she always told me, like when I would walk by her joking at home, I would, give her some pound or get ready to give her a pound, give her a fist bump, dap her up. And she said, you don't dap up women. You hug women. You don't dap up women. You don't shake women's hand. You hug them. And I laughed and joked as a teenager to, young adult. It was funny to me because she was big on, um, she was big on, I forgot what it's called, but it's chivalry. Chivalry. She's big on chivalry, right? She was big on chivalry. Holding doors, pulling out chairs, being polite, all that stuff, laying your coat down over a puddle, let her step over, the romantic stuff. So though that has its place, and a lot of that is, outdated for a lot of folks dating now, I still believe in chivalry, so I do it for my lady as well. And it's necessary. But when you're in certain environments, she's right. You don't want to just be dapping up the ladies while you're out and about networking. If you are close to them, me and the CEO have a bit of a relationship. We have a connection. So her hugging me when she saw me was completely normal, and it was okay, and it put her at ease. The problem is, well, I'll go back to the story. I'll finish that, and then we'll break the story down. So I go in there. He's full on into the presentation. She's taking notes. She gets up to hug me. He gets up to shake my hand and hug me as well. And I immediately noticed a few things. He wasn't even dressed right. He had on his outfit really was just, I mean, and I'm not being materialistic, but it's a certain presentation that you come with when you're looking to sell anything to anybody. The first thing that they're going to buy is you. That's the first thing you're selling. So before he opened his mouth, she didn't want to be rude because of my reputation or my credibility with her up front. But at the same time, she was still kind of gauging him to see if he really knew what he was talking about. So he's in his presentation. He gets back to it after he greets me. And then he proceeds to call who he feels is an expert on the phone to do a third party presentation. So now there's three of us in a room, one person on the telephone, and we're listening to him present the information that the person who I expressed was an expert was supposed to go over. So they ultimately ended up going in a different direction. I spoke to the CEO. It was no way to possibly resurrect that deal. That deal was a dead deal. And it was just because it was so many negative things that happened that left a sour taste in her mouth. So breaking down that scenario, Number one, he didn't allow me to usher him into the room and make the connection properly. So that was cardinal rule number one. He blew it right on that, right off that alone. Number two, he's not dressed to impress or dressed how he wants to be addressed. He's not dressed properly. He's not dressed in a way that says, I'm an expert in my field and I know you need my service. So he didn't let me usher him into the room. He wasn't dressed properly and prepared to actually do business and create rapport right off the jump. And then on number three, he actually showed himself to not actually be the expert. So now you damage everything that was possibly set up for you. When I asked the gentleman after I had told him, yeah, you kind of blew that, bro. What, how was this your biggest deal ever? Or have you ever had a bigger deal than this? This company had 120 employees. And when I asked him that, he said, well, no, this was the biggest deal. The biggest, company I've ever worked with or helped or partnered with was about 20 employees. 120 would have been the biggest. And I said, whew, that's a mean L to take when it comes to being impatient about what it is that you're trying to proclaim yourself to be an expert, especially in that field. The bad thing about it was everything that he offered, they loved or she loved. Not only did she love it, but they needed everything that he offered. So she loved everything that he offered. The company needed everything that he offered. But how he went about the process caused him to blow the deal. And in essence, it was no way to resurrect it. When I say resurrect, I mean bring it back to life or kind of revive the deal. But resurrect is that's my word. Don't take my lingo. But no, he basically killed the deal. There was no way to resurrect it. And it was mainly because he went through the entire process continuously making bad decision and amateur mistakes. Now, the negatives, the negatives of rushing the deal is what we're going to talk about. How you blow the deal. There are so many different negatives, right? So I think I got about maybe 4 points. 4 points. So the first one, you don't want to stink of desperation. You do not want to stink of desperation when you're looking to do business with somebody. When somebody ushers you into a room, they're edifying you. They're raising you up. They're putting you on a pedestal that the person who you're going to meet, they're looking at you as the person to know or the woman to know, the man to know. And this is the person I need to be in contact with. So I'm good at edifying. I can make you look like you walk on water when you walk into the room. You just have to be dressed like you might be able to walk on water when you walk into the room. But you don't want to be the person that looks like they're desperate. And rushing the deal typically gives that. When a person is extremely pushy, when they're trying to get everything done at one time as if you're never going to see this person again, they're rushing the deal. They're rushing the process. So my old business coach, I don't want to drop his name either, but at the same time, he's my old business coach, and I love his philosophy and study of building a team and building culture. The one thing he said that stuck with me for years, and it's been like 10 years now since he said this, but patience is the multiplier. Patience is the multiplier. So I went and did some biblical study. Everything we do is built on biblical principle, right? So I'll give you guys a scripture. It is Proverbs 21 and 5. Proverbs 21 and 5. The thoughts of the diligent tend only to plenteousness, but of everyone that is hasty only to want. Okay? So translation of that is the planning and hard work Good planning and hard work lead to prosperity, but hasty shortcuts lead to poverty. Whew, that's tough. That's the translation of it, right? New Living Translation. That was the first one was King James. Um, so this is a biblical principle. Rushing will cause you to make mistakes, and normally, when it comes to business, there's nothing you can say or do to move this person into a sale, typically, unless they're ready or until they're ready. One of my earlier videos talked about that, creating the desire for somebody to be sold. People want to be sold, and she actually came to the meeting to confirm that she was willing to be sold on what he had. But the problem was he dropped the ball and blew the deal because he was too desperate. He was too desperate. Nobody wants to be rushed into spending money. I want to be fully educated. Educate me. Let me know why I should buy this, or how this is going to work, or how can I get the best results from purchasing this thing from you. It's not really about the money all the time. The company had the money to spare. But the moment you tap into desperation and you start to rush the process because you want to push through and get that commission and have a good story to tell everybody, this was his biggest deal and he blew it. Biggest deal of his career. You don't want to make amateur mistakes while presenting yourself to be an expert. I'll say that again. You don't want to make amateur mistakes while presenting yourself to be an expert. Now, do I know everything there is to know about sales and networking? No, I do not. However, I am pretty good at what I do, to the point where I can network and have options. I have options to go do certain things business wise because of who I'm connected to. And that's how well I've put my network together. That's not me bragging or trying to gloat or try to say I'm better than anybody else. All I'm saying is this is a skill I've sharpened. So I understand the science behind it. If you understand the science of how you're supposed to connect with people for what it is that you offer, you've got the game mastered. For this particular situation, he didn't have to master much because I sold him to her, not even the product. She was sold on who he was when he walked in the door. The problem is he didn't walk in the door right. And because he rushed it, he stunk of desperation. So that was the first negative. The second negative is key networking steps skipped. Key networking steps are skipped. He skipped the being ushered into the room portion. That's a simple thing and it's easy to do, but it costs you millions of dollars when you're not ushered into a room properly. I'll take it to the music industry. Whenever a new artist comes out, before they drop a single of themselves or on their own or solo as an artist, they get on a track with another big name artist who's already created a platform. So what you see is validation for the feature. They feature that other artist, and that feature gives them validation to be reputable, to say, okay, they make good music. Let me go check out their album. Let me go check out some songs they've done. Okay, they featured on some other songs. Great, perfect. Now let me check out the album. Oh, they can make it. Oh, that's good. I like the album. It's the constant social proof that being ushered into a room is going to allow you to have. Now, the problem about this situation was I leveraged my network and my credibility for this gentleman to be able to do something that would have been the biggest thing he had ever done. I don't have a problem ushering anybody into a room. I don't have a problem sharing my network with other people or people I'm connected to when it comes to business. The problem I have, though, is don't damage my credibility with the company or with this person or with this individual I'm proceeding to connect you to just because you're rushing. And rushing will make you miss certain networking steps. So that was the issue. That's second negative. The third negative. Ooh. Okay, so that was it. Damaged credibility and leaving results. Damaged credibility means no money. No money results means leaving money on the table. So once he damages his own credibility, not being an expert, he called a third party. That damages his credibility to be able to resurrect the deal, and also damages my credibility to be reputable because I'm someone that they're connected to. They do business with me already. So me ushering you into the room, you've got the game mastered to some degree. But at the same time, when you damage your own credibility, you damage the credibility of everybody who's connected to you in that setting or in that room. And because I ushered him into the room, now I have to go do the work to regain the credibility I've lost based on what he proceeded to do because of all of these negatives that he, pretty much created. Um, so that's the third one. The fourth one, the fourth one is revived relationships. Revived relationships. So now you put the person, when you miss all of those steps and you skip everything to get to, you're rushing the deal, you're skipping the networking steps, and you damage everybody's credibility in the process. Now you put everybody in a place where they have to go and fix those situations that were broken. And many a times that's the hardest part because now there's no trust. Uh, I said this in one video when I was talking to a group. Momentum takes forever to gain, but it takes seconds to lose. It takes forever to gain. It takes a long time to build up that strength and then lose it in a moment because somebody negligently handled the situation. So having the momentum is related to how you're connecting with this person, how you got into the room, how everything starts to open up as they're explaining to you their problem and you're giving them solutions. That momentum is starting to build to a climax or to a high point. And the problem is once it gets to a high point and it drops because somebody misses something and rushing, skipping the networking steps and damaging credibility at the same time will cause a person to not be able to revive the relationship. So after all was said and done, I couldn't even go back and explain to him or explain to her, hey, let's see how we can move forward with this because she had a bad taste in her mouth after that. And she's looking at me strange. So now I have to figure out what I can do to make sure I'm still in good graces being on the board. Luckily, I was able to salvage some of that because I kind of had to throw him under the bus and burn his face with the muffler, pretty much. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have a choice though at that point, because it's now you totally went against all of my advice and all of my counsel in the situation, especially when I'm sitting up here trying to get you into the room to make you some money. And you damage my credibility, you destroy your credibility, and now it's impossible to revive the deal. So the biggest deal of your career, you blow it because you're rushing, because you're impatient, and because you're doing things that are going to sabotage your opportunity. Now, how can we avoid these type of situations? We don't want to blow the deal. So how do we avoid blowing the deal? First thing, allow the opportunity to be set up. That's the first thing. You want somebody else to set it up for you. That way, they do all the heavy lifting and you do the easy work. So edification is how you set it up, how you set up the opportunity. I edified him as an expert. So by the time he got there, he walks in the door. You are now the expert. Don't do anything to make your credibility as the expert be shifted to someone else or to make them look at you like, oh yeah, this guy is not the guy I need to talk to. So now again, damaging credibility. You don't want to allow the edification to be destroyed that somebody has already done. So the first thing is allow the opportunity to set up. That it is set up. The opportunity is set up through edification. Edifying is just speaking well of somebody. If I don't have anything good to say about you, then I can't recommend you or refer you to anybody, and I can't usher you into any rooms that I'm in, because the edification is the biggest piece, the biggest key, biggest part of the puzzle when it comes to sales. So the edification, allow the opportunity to be set up. Number two, get ushered into the new room. So once you're ushered into the new room, after the edification is set up, the process now starts. And now you have the opportunity to either make the process go up or go down. It's based on you and how you show up. Number three, look to connect and not immediate sales, making proper connections. That's what I talk about. My intro, the opening, making proper connections. You're looking to connect, not sell immediately. What you want to do is make the connection, start the process. And then from starting the process, now you walk into a place where after you've done business with them and it's successful, you've closed business with them. She's a CEO. She knows 5 to 7 other CEOs who may be having similar problems that you can help them with. Now that opens the door for you to get more high level referrals, and not just me ushering you into a room. Now you're getting ushered into a room, a new room, by a CEO who has heavy influence with the room that they're going into. So once your credibility is damaged, you want to make sure you want to avoid that, basically. So let's not damage credibility anymore. That's just amateur mistakes. But you want to make the proper connections. So you want to get connected with the CEO. That's the next person. You work through one person to get to the next person. You get to the next person, you connect with them properly. That means exchanging information. After you guys have a conversation and you make the proper connections, you're just connecting. You're not selling them. Okay? Not that time. But you make that connection. And then from there, you build the relationship. That's the next step. So you and the CEO get emails exchanged. You exchange phone numbers. I really say do phone numbers because that's the old school skill. It's very intimate. A lot of people are on social media. We're all on social media: LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, uh, Twitter, all those things. But it's a more personal connection when the two exchange phone numbers. In an intimate setting like that, depending on who you're connecting to, I recommend all of my clients get their phone number. And then after you have their phone number, then you guys connect on social media so they can see you active when they're on social media. But get their phone number, connect with them directly, not calling the office, not emailing them, because those are all ways for them to blow you off. It's hard to blow off somebody who has your personal number. That doesn't mean badger them to death neither. That just means make a good connection. And typically having somebody's phone number directly, direct contact or direct connection is the best way to do it. So that's number 3. Number 4, leverage the opportunity so everyone lives. Leverage the opportunity so that everyone lives. When you damage the credibility of the person who ushers you into the room and you damage your own credibility, remember what I said about resurrecting the deal? Now I have to not only resurrect the deal, but I have to resurrect the relationship. I have to salvage the relationship, mainly because it's damaged by a person who comes in stinking of desperation, skipping networking steps, and causing their activity to damage the credibility of themselves and others. It's insane because so many people do business like this. It's sad. So you start to wonder, how much money am I leaving on the table because I'm going through the business world and moving like this? This is going to be detrimental to my career. So if you're closing, let's say 3% of the 100 people that you talk to, you're only closing 3%. your ratio would increase to about 20, maybe 40% if you just simply handle the situations properly, expecting everybody to live after you guys talk, after you guys connect. Don't damage everything or the relationships so bad to the point where you guys can't connect or talk afterwards, because now you're putting yourself in a place where you're going to be starving, and every deal you're going to go to, you're going to be going to it with a stink of desperation. Sheesh. Now, closing idea. This is also a biblical principle. Okay. This is James 1:4. But let patience have her perfect work, that ye may be perfected and entire, wanting nothing. Do you get that? So patience breeds perfection. Patience breeds perfection. So there's nothing to worry about when you're allowing yourself to be patient in a process. You're allowing everything to go the way it needs to go. Slow it down to speed up. You don't have to ruin relationships. You don't have to damage your credibility. You don't have to put yourself in a place where you have to now resurrect a deal or try or attempt to resurrect a deal or relationship simply because you didn't destroy it in the first place by being impatient. Patience breeds perfection, and it'll keep you in a place where you're not wanting for anything because everything is flowing the way it needs to flow. There's a rhythm to how things work. There's a process, and every process has timelines, intervals that you have to hit. It is your job to make sure that you hit each interval with a spirit of excellence. And if you mishandle those intervals, then you're going to cause yourself to constantly be taking L's. And that's not the goal. The goal here, 2024 and moving forward, is to go higher. The goal is to go higher. The goal is to get better. The goal is to earn more, have a higher level of life, higher level of, have a higher quality of life as well. So yeah, definitely want to, make a note of that. If you're taking any kind of notes, remember that patience breeds perfection. Your work is perfected in patience. Heavy. Well, I hope you guys got something from that. This is our first conversation for this year, 2024, our first individual conversation. We're going to be doing, like I said, we're going to be going back to doing everything regular as possible. Our bag talks will be happening. Look out for Zoe Clark with her talks with Z. Next episode is going to be heavy. I think she's going to be talking about dreaming, some aspect of being a dreamer and having a vision, which is going to be heavy. So I'm looking forward to that conversation as well. So yeah, just stay tuned, man. Welcome to the Connectors Corner. Welcome back. Let's keep these conversations going. I miss you guys. I love you guys. And like I tell you guys every time, dream bigger, believe better, and expect greater. I'll see y'all next time.